My blood ran cold upon hearing my disabled daughter Lily scream. I rushed out to catch HOA Karen hanging my 7-year-old from our yard tree. Her robot legs are an eyesore, she sneered, unaware. I'm the assistant commissioner who regulates HOAs. She would live to regret this cruelty before watching full video. Comment below. From where you watching? Also like and subscribe for more caring cruelty stories. Mommy, Daddy, saved the screams, shattered through our quiet neighborhood like a knife. I was on a crisis call with the mayor when I heard them. My daughter Lily's scared voice chilled my blood. I left everything behind and rushed outside. What I saw will haunt me forever. My 7-year-old daughter Lily was hanging from our oak tree, her little body swinging helplessly, her prosthetic legs swinging awkwardly below her. Her face was stretched with tears as she kicked against the ropes that had been wrapped around her waist. Standing below with a smug expression on her face was Veronica Miller, our local HOA president. Mrs. Miller, what are you doing to my daughter? I yelled, rushing towards them, giving her a lesson about property standards. Veronica said coldly, those metal things on her legs are an eyesore, and she's been sitting in your front yard where everyone can see. It goes against Article 7 of our covenant about keeping the aesthetic appeal of our community. I couldn't believe my ears. My daughter's prosthetic legs, the one she'd recently gotten 6 months ago, after losing both her legs in the car accident, which had also killed her mother, were being called an eyesore by this woman. Get her down right now, I insisted, holding my phone to call for help. Not until you sign this contract promising you'll keep her indoors or in the backyard only. Veronica held up a sheet of paper. I've had 3 homeowners complaining already. They don't want to see that when they're taking their neighborhood strolls. Lily was crying now, her little hands gripping the rope that Veronica had somehow convinced her to believe was part of a special swing game. The knowledge that this woman had exploited my trusting daughter made me shudder with rage. Do you know who I am? I asked softly. Some new single dad who doesn't understand how things work in Oak Estates. She scoffed. I've been running this HOA for 15 years, and I won't let standards slip because you can't control your situation. As I quickly untied Lily from the tree, I decided I wouldn't tell Veronica that I was Michael Donovan, the newly appointed Assistant Commissioner of Housing Regulations for our whole state, the job that gave me direct control over all HOA regulations and the authority to investigate complaints of misconduct. I would have made her learn the hard way that night as I cradled Lily while she cried herself to sleep. I promised her that nobody would ever hurt her again. Her little fingers felt the scars on her legs where they joined her prosthetics. Why doesn't she like my robot legs, Daddy? She asked in a barely audible whisper. I thought they were cool. Mommy would have thought they were cool too. My heart shattered all over again. Since the accident, Lily had been so brave. Her physical therapist had requested that she consider her prosthetics as super cool robot legs to help her get accustomed to them. She had even placed stickers on them in colorful hues of butterflies and rainbows. Your legs are great just like you, I said, kissing her forehead. Mrs. Miller is the one who has the issue. Not you, and I assure you she won't cause you any trouble again. After Lily fell asleep, I went to my home office and pulled out Veronica Miller's HOA file before I moved to Oak Estates. I had done my homework. I was aware of the numerous grievances against this particular HOA, but I had chosen this subdivision specifically because I wanted to see for myself how bad things were. Never did I imagine my own daughter would be targeted. I lay awake the entire night rereading every single decision Veronica had ever made in the past 5 years. By morning, I had a thick packet of infractions, ranging from illegal fines to discriminatory practices against disabled and elderly residents. 3 days later, I went to my first HOA meeting. Veronica stood at the head of the community center, talking about the need for lawn upkeep. When I walked in with Lily, the room went silent. Everyone stared at my daughter's prosthetic legs, which she had adorned with even more stickers. After I had calmed her down, there was nothing wrong with them. Mr. Donovan, Veronica spat with obvious contempt. This is an adults-only meeting, and frankly, after our conversation the other day, I would think you'd be more considerate about flaunting your daughter's illness in public. A number of gasps arose around the room. One elderly woman put her hand over her mouth in shock. Actually, I bellowed loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm here in my official capacity as the Assistant Commissioner of Housing Regulations for the state the color washed from Veronica's face. I've spent the last few days going over this HOA's policies, and I uncovered several violations that are reasons for immediate dissolution of the board and potentially criminal charges. Whispers went around the room as I took out my folder and started to enumerate the violations: illegal fines, selective enforcement, discrimination against protected classes, including the disabled, financial mismanagement, and most recently, child endangerment. What does he mean? Child endangerment, someone asked 3 days ago. I explained Mrs. Miller hung my disabled daughter from a tree in my backyard and would not let her down unless I consented to conceal her from view because her prosthetic legs were an eyesore. The room erupted in outraged voices. I had not mentioned anything to anyone about the episode and wished to tackle it in an official manner. But now the news was out. That's preposterous, Veronica spluttered. I was simply attempting to maintain our standards. The girl was violating girl. I had to deny access to was a 7-year-old child who lost her legs and her mother in a gruesome accident, and her name is Lily. An older gentleman stood up from his chair. My grandson has a prosthetic arm due to my war injury. Are you informing me that he would not be welcome to come see me here, Veronica? A lady at the back yelled out, My mother is in a wheelchair. Is that against the rules too? Briefly, others were recalling stories of how Veronica bullied them about minor things, threatened to penalize them, even coerced one family to move away after their son was diagnosed with cancer and could not maintain their lawn in condition for his treatments. Veronica tried to reassert control, but it was too late. The neighborhood had had enough effective all at once. I am suspending this HOA board subject to a full investigation. All recent penalties are frozen, and an interim committee will be designed to review and revise the covenant to ensure it complies with state law and basic human decency. The investigation of the HOA began the next day. I tasked my top team with reviewing each document, each penny of financial records, and each complaint that had been lodged against Veronica Miller and her board. What they revealed was worse than I could have imagined. Not only was Veronica applying rules discriminatorily on the basis of personal vendettas, she had also been embezzling HOA funds for years. Bank reports showed that nearly $75,000 of community funds had gone towards her own vacation residence home. Repairs and even a brand new luxury car she claimed was for official HOA business. When the police came to her doorstep with an arrest warrant for her, I made sure I was there to witness it. The look of surprise on her face when she noticed I was standing with the officers was something I will never forget. This is harassment, she cried as they handcuffed her. You're doing this because of that little crippled girl of yours. No, Mrs. Miller, I replied quietly. I'm doing this because you broke the law. Several laws, actually: child endangerment, embezzlement, fraud, discrimination. And that's just the tip of it. As they led her to the police car, neighbors came out of their homes. Word had spread fast about what was going on. Some people actually applauded, others stood watching in silence at the woman who had terrorized them for years, finally facing consequences. You'll regret this, she yelled at me from the back seat of the police car. I have friends in high places. So does my daughter, I responded. They're just better friends than yours. The legal proceedings against Veronica took months during that time. Amazing changes happened in our neighborhood without the fear of her constant surveillance and threats. People began to personalize their homes. Gardens flourished. Children played freely in front yards. A group of neighbors even had a community development project done to enhance our sidewalks and public space so that they are more accessible to everyone. Lily was sort of a neighborhood mascot. Individuals who had never even talked to us before stopped by to see her with playdate invitations and small gifts. One of our neighbors, Mr. Jenkins, was a retired engineer who offered to make a special playground in our yard that would be just perfect for Lily's abilities. Another neighbor, Mrs. Chin, was a seamstress who made beautiful covers for Lily's prosthetics that can be changed like fashion items for the first time since moving to Oakage Estates. We felt like we belonged. The day of Veronica's sentencing arrived 6 months since her arrest. The courtroom was packed with our neighbors. Lily demanded going, saying that she wanted to see the mean lady get into trouble for being mean. I was hesitant, but eventually agreed. It would be good for her to watch justice unfold. When the judge asked if anyone would be willing to make a victim impact statement, I was surprised when Lily's hand went up. Your Honor, I mouthed, my daughter would like to speak if we might. The judge looked at Lily with warm eyes and nodded, we'd be honored to hear from her. I helped Lily to the front of the courtroom, her prosthetic legs clicking quietly on the floor. She stood tall in front of the judge, her eyes briefly meeting Veronica's glacial stare. My name is Lily Donovan, she began in a stubborn voice covering up her 7 years. Mrs. Miller hung me from a tree because she didn't care for my robot legs. She made me think that there was something wrong with me. She paused, filling her lungs with air, before continuing. My mommy died in the same car accident that destroyed my real legs. She used to tell me that the reason human beings' beauty is how they treat other people. Mrs. Miller is not beautiful inside, she hurting me, and many other individuals because we were different. The courtroom was dead quiet when my brave little girl continued. I forgive her because my daddy teaches that holding on to anger only harms yourself. But I feel that she should know that it is wrong to be cruel to people who are different, and hanging children from trees is highly, highly wrong. With that, Lily turned and walked back to her seat, her head held high. I saw several jurors wiping tears. The judge's verdict was swift and severe. 5 years in prison for embezzlement, with additional time for endangerment of a child and civil rights crimes, a lifetime bar from serving on any HOA or community board, and a restraining order preventing her from approaching within 500 feet of Lily or our home never again. As we left the courtroom, one reporter asked me my opinion on the sentence justice had been done today. I told them not for my daughter in particular, but for everyone who had ever been made to feel less than human by an abuser of power. A year later, our street was unrecognizable from the cold, dread-inducing complex it had once been. The old HOA had been dissolved flat. In its place was a community association with a focus on openness and accessibility. Our first project had been to construct a completely accessible playground in the Central Park. With play equipment that children of any ability could play upon. Together, we had a red carpet opening ceremony, and Lily was asked to cut the ribbon as I watched her with friends, her prosthetic legs now proudly visible rather than concealed. I felt a feeling of overwhelming gratitude. What had started as a nightmare had turned into something beautiful. During the ceremony, an older woman I didn't recognize approached us as Mr. Donovan. She said tentatively, I'm Janet Miller, Veronica's sister. I stiffened, immediately drawing Lily in closer to me, please. She said, noticing my reaction. I'm not here to make trouble. I wanted to apologize for what my sister did to your daughter and to thank you. Thank me, I asked, perplexed. Yes, she nodded. Veronica has been a bully her entire life. No one ever stood up to her until you. She's receiving therapy within prison, now fighting her own demons. Maybe she'll learn finally from this. She got down to Lily's level. Your legs are beautiful, honey. They show just how tough you are. Lily smiled and did a bit of twirl, showing off the rainbow. Butterfly designs on her new prosthetics. They enable me to fly, she said proudly as Janet left. Lily tugged on my hand. Daddy, is it okay that the mean woman was in trouble, but I still feel sorry for her. I knelt beside my wonderful daughter again in awe of her enormous heart that's called compassion. Lily, and it's the best thing in the world, we walked home together down our newly redone neighborhood. Past houses with mailboxes with our names on them and gardens filled with wildflowers, past neighbors who waved and said hi to Lily. By name, the old oak tree in our backyard. Once a reminder of cruelty, now had a beautiful treehouse that Mr. Jenkins had wanted to be accessible to Lily and all her friends. Sometimes the worst things bring about the most lovely changes. Veronica Miller had tried to keep my daughter hidden because she was different. Instead, she had unwittingly made Lily the focus of our community and helped shape a community where differences weren't just tolerated, but accepted and celebrated. And each time I look at Lily racing through our front yard, her prosthetic legs shining in the sun as she plays with friends who see her ability and not her disability, I am reminded that love will always overpower hate, and that even the tiniest among us can affect the greatest of changes. This